Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's panel discussion on mastering AI development, building smarter applications with machine learning. Well, let's take a moment to know what is AI CERTs. AI CERTs provides role-based AI and blockchain certifications designed to promote lifelong learning. Our goal is to help companies build smarter workforce, adapt to change, and drive growth while all working towards our ambitious mission of certifying just a billion people. I'm Rohini, your moderator for today's session, and I'm thrilled to introduce our two esteemed speakers who will share their expertise on exciting topic today. Joining us is Shubham Lal, a software developer at Microsoft, and Shravanti, a researcher, former founder, and CEO, Gen Z Technologies. Shubham brings a wealth of experience from one of the leading tech giants, while Shravanti, an AI and ML expert, is the visionary behind Gen Z Technologies, where she focuses on innovating with machine learning for practical applications. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here. Well, let's just start, with our discussion. Shubham, starting with you, what do you see as a core principle for developing smarter applications with machine learning?
So, Rohini, thank you for such a lovely introduction, Rohini, and lovely to be here, first of all, and share this panel. When you ask what are the core principles to build smarter application, there's a very common terminology that we follow at Microsoft. That's the three pillars that we always follow at Microsoft. The first is the customer. We are always customer centric. Now, before we start developing any product or start engaging ourselves into starting off to create any product, the very first thing we do is we put ourselves in customer shoes. What is something customer is requiring? What is something customer, the pain point we're trying to solve? How are we impacting the customer's life, or how are we exactly making the user experience much easy? So customer journey understanding from the standpoint of the customer is the number one thing that we try to make sure. With machine learning, without machine learning, that doesn't matter. The first is always customer centric. The second is, are we using the right methodology? If I talk about machine learning, are we using the right data to create the model, right? Are we taking into account the responsible AI terms? For example, now ChatGPT is very common across the world, right? But there is some responsibility. RAI, we call it RAI in technical terms. There is some RAI that has to go in even in ChatGPT as well. Now, if I just explain in the layman terms what RAI is, for example, if today I ask ChatGPT that between Russia and Ukraine, who was right in their actions and who was wrong. As a ChatGPT, as a AI, I should not start taking side of one party against the other, right? Or for example, if I just ask ChatGPT which religion is best religion, right? Such answers should not be coming from the AI. So that responsibility, right? Data feeding is the second pillar that we follow at Microsoft, so that we don't create products that can create controversies and that can create or affect certain group of people. That's the second part. And the third part is what is how are we eventually improving it? Like, once you have developed the product, it's out there, how are we actually hearing back from the customers? How are we actually tracking what customers feels about the product? How are we actually improving it? How are we making it grow further? So these are the three top pillars we always follow, and same thing I think I would recommend to everyone who's trying to create a product with machine learning or AI.
Well, amazing. I think these are great points, Shubham. Well, over to you, Shravanti. Can you share how developers can enhance their skill sets in AI to stay relevant in today's competitive landscape?
Shravanti, you're on mute.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Hope you can hear me. Hi, Roni. Hi,
Yes.
Shubham. Great to be here. Thanks for
Hello.
inviting me. Yeah. So, Rohini, to answer your question, right? So it really depends on where the developer is currently, what level he or she is at, right? So for machine learning, the basic math, stat, probability, calculus, these are very, like, I would say intermediate maths, but that has to be a really strong foundation to be there, and Python as a programming language to be there. These are very foundation or building blocks, I would say, right? And from there you'll have to then there's level by level, right? Like we have junior, senior, mid-level developers. Similarly in machine learning also, while learning also there are various levels of learning, right? So the basic foundation, as I've told, on top of which there are basic ML algorithms, basic learning paradigms in machine learning, in model learning, model training and all, which has to be learned irrespective of what domain or what problem area you are working on, you want to work on, right? So I mean, it's a long journey, I would say. It's an interesting journey. But then it really has multi facets to learning a ML model. So, requirement breakdown or understanding your problem is very basic thing apart from the technical foundation. And breaking that problem to what is it? Is it a classification? Is it a prediction? Is it a recommender system? What is that problem kind of? What data do you have? So there are many aspects uh, to work on a machine learning problem. So certain principles of software engineering do help in AI model building as well, or AI development as well. The soft skills are pretty much the same. The technology changes a bit, the algorithms change a bit, and change a lot, in fact. But then, yeah, I think having strong math and programming foundation is going to be crucial.
Yeah, I would just like to add one point on what Shravanti said. I think
Yeah, I
if I
just
just
wanted to come
reiterate,
to you. Yeah.
if I just want to reiterate your question, like what skill set one should look for to to get started as a data scientist and stuff. I strongly believe the biggest skill set that you need to have before you start going through Python and stuff is love for data. That enthusiasm of building something with data and creating AI and machine learning, that should come from within, right? Just because my friend did it and he's doing well in his life, or maybe my senior did the same thing and he moved to US and stuff like that, might not be the right way to go about it. I think you should jump on building ML products, AI products, and learning skill set only when you feel like you are made for that or you are actually interested in. So this is something I have also followed in all the things I have learned in the skill set. So same thing I'll recommend as well.
I'm sure. I think Shubham, on that note, I think it's universal. I think each one of the working professionals need to be very
Mhm.
clear. I think even students, for that matter, they need to have that clarity. First is
Yeah,
the passion. Identify what you really like, and then drive it from there. Right? I
true.
think yeah, that's a great point, and it's universally accepted amongst all different industries as well. So great insights. Well, Shravanti and Shubham, could you share some of the challenges developers face when they're deploying ML model into production, and how can they overcome these?
Okay.
See, building a POC, the initial model is very easy given the tools and vast literature that we have on the internet, right? But taking it to production is really, really difficult, and probably even today, with so much of advancements in the technology, hardly 10 to 20% of the models make it to production, and that's a harsh reality today, right? So there are many things. The When we are doing a POC, it's a limited set of data, right? Based on which you build a model, you make certain assumptions on the data, and then you build a model. And while it is taken to the real world, there are two things that come into play when in production. One is data drift, one is model drift, right? So the data that you have trained your model on, the distribution of that data is kind of limited because you have limited data set that you have trained your model on. While when it comes to real time use cases, right, there are many edge cases that you cannot tick off while building a model. The users, I mean, the intention of building a model could be one, while the users can use it in n number of different ways which you probably wouldn't have thought about. So there are n number of edge cases that come in, and there's a data drift. Obviously your data distribution in reality is quite different from what you have built it for, right? That is one thing. The second thing is model performance also degrades over a period of time, given it is not deterministic as software, the typical software applications that we use. In typical software applications, we program to act in a certain way where it is 100% act in that way only for whatever input we have designed it for. While in AI, it is very stochastic and probabilistic. So you cannot 100% achieve everything or 100% predict that given this input, I'm 100% sure that this is the output I get. So these are certain challenges, and even scalability is pretty much a big issue, I would say. So the model training is a big issue. The inference is also a big issue when it comes to large models. So, and data versioning, there are many things that come into, like MLOps covers most of the issues that I'm talking about. But model versioning, data versioning, you keep retraining your model, refining your model, fine tuning your model, online training, offline training, your blue green deployments. So there are many complex issues that pop up when you want to actually move the model to production, right? And maintaining it in production is also pretty challenging, I would say, pretty complex and challenging. And it requires really, as Shubham rightly mentioned, right? It requires a passion to be in that field, to be continue to work on the same thing again and again, refining it, fine tuning it, understanding the nuances of your data, where is the data drift coming from. So you really have to have a good knack on crunching numbers or identifying patterns in your data. So model
Yeah.
building is just one part of it,
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
10 to 20% of the entire life cycle. But the exploratory data analysis, understanding your data, pre-processing your data, that takes really, really huge time.
I'm sure. You want to add some points to it, Shubham?
Yeah, I think it was well covered by Shravanti. I'll just summarize that and what I feel. So three things that has been challenging whenever we try to push our any ML model into production is uh, accuracy, scalability, and reliability. Okay, the first thing is accuracy. How accurate we are, or how confident we are that the answers that will be given by our ML model is going to be accurate. Even today, I'm not sure if you know, but ChatGPT only has the data till 2021. Whatever has happened after 2021, you ask any question to ChatGPT, the ChatGPT will say that that's beyond my, I'm not updated with that data, right? If I ask them anything about that, like whatever
Really,
happened last month.
this is an
Yeah,
interesting,
correct. That's a fact.
yeah.
That's a fact. And
Okay.
Google is trying to come up with Bard and Gemini that is trying to overcome that blocker so that they grow in the business as well. So the first challenge has always been how to fetch right data, train your model so that model is up to date and giving and able to impact users, help the users with the latest data in the most accurate fashion. That's the first thing. Second thing is scalability. Now, any guess, Rohini, how many languages do we speak in the world? Any random guess? How many languages are there in the world?
I think
Okay.
I'm going to ask ChatGPT.
Okay, your last ChatGPT. Okay, maybe after. Okay, cool. So there are more than 1,000 languages that are being spoken in the world, right? Altogether, ChatGPT currently is supporting only one language. There are more than 30% of the world population who do not understand English, right? So how are we making the product so scalable that you are meeting the requirement of every single person out there out the world, right? So making it scalable in terms of not just language specific, but also in terms of culture specific or specific to their kind of pronunciations and vocabulary, some stuff like that has always been a challenge when we try to meet out the audience all over the world. Okay, so that's the scalability part. The third point is reliability part. Now there are a lot of companies who are using AI to have a chat bot which is AI based, right? And nowadays, even when I recently called American Express, their customer service, and there was an AI speaking to me, and it took me a while to realize that I'm speaking to an AI, right? So the world is changing, and that's where, and the thing is, what I felt was uh, the AIs are not totally reliable. they you might say something, they might not be able to understand your concerns in an exact manner, and they might respond something else. And that's where I realized that I'm speaking to an AI, right? So how reliable are we to let AI drive the chat bot, or let AI drive on behalf of human, is something we are still struggling with. So these are the 3 points what I feel we still need to go at least a long way, and it has always been a challenge whenever we deploy anything in production for machine learning.
Amazing points, Shubham, and very realistic, right? I think I face this personally even with Alexa. I say something
Mhm.
and it does something, and I'm like, hey, Alexa, stop.
Uh-huh.
All right, I think that's great to know. Well, I think now let's talk about innovation. What are some emerging trends in AI development that you think will shape the future of smart applications?
Smart applications, more than smart applications, what I feel is currently what changes I have been seeing so far is in Microsoft, we don't write code anymore. Nobody writes code. We are using copilots. Like GitHub Copilot is one of the product you might have heard. I'm sure Shravanti must have heard. It's a like a It's co-pilot has been driven from a word where you were the only pilot in the flight and you have someone to help you. So now whatever redundant tasks, you can just offload it to the co-pilot. Now GitHub Copilot can write code on your behalf. Only thing you need to do is make some changes, apply some connections if there you if it has to be deployed, take care of the infrastructure. That's it, right? So that's the biggest change I observed. We don't write. I have not written code since a year now, right? So that is one thing, one change I see. Second change is we are trying to inculcate AI in all the products of Microsoft. 5 years down the line, if I ask you just that create a PPT on Indian heritage, for example, your action will be go to internet, try to find out Indian heritage, try to get some pictures, try to get some text, make it slightly fancy, add some bullet points, add some fonts. But today you can go to Microsoft PowerPoint, write a one line statement that create a 5 pager PPT on Indian heritage, and you're done. Everything will be there with images, text, and the formatting and stuff. It is still being released to everyone, but at Microsoft we have already started using it. So we're trying to have AI into all the aspects. So that's the first change what I'm seeing, that whatever tasks were redundant, whatever task required a low level or lot of manual intervention are no longer there. It's being taken care by the AI, right? But if I talk about upcoming innovations, there are few innovations that I still think of, and especially when I move to research colleges and all that to judge an event, I see a lot of innovations going on where they are trying to inculcate IoT versus AI, right? When I say IoT, IoT is just Internet of Things. You can control home appliances with the help of currently your phone, right? Or you can connect your Alexa bulb with your Windows and all that Google Mini stuffs, right? But down the line, with the help of an AI, you can schedule stuff. You can just tell that every morning at 7 a.m. switch on this lights or switch off this power. I go to office at 10 a.m. so 9:30 a.m. switch on the geyser and all that stuff. And the AI will take care of making sure that you don't have to have someone who's taking care of those things. It's automatically done. So that's the first change I'm seeing in IoT part. That's the most interesting one. And the second change is more on the devices part. Right now we wear smart devices, right? I see now AI is being inculcated in smart devices that can tell you, looking at your heart rate, that what kind of mood you are going through, right? It can suggest you things to enhance your mood. For example, I was also amazed to know that your heartbeat changes according to your mood. Like you can be in the same physical scenario, you can be sitting, but if you're thinking something and you're sad about it, there will be a slightly different heart rate as compared to when you are happy or when you are relaxed, right? So AI is able
Really?
to track, yeah, that's
This
true.
is this
AI
is
is able to track
yeah.
that part using smart watches, and it can suggest you things. So that's a good evolution I see that can impact human lives even better. Yeah.
Yet again, I think these are really cool real life examples that you've shared, Shubham. Thank you so much. Over
Mhm.
to you, Shravanti. Please give us your, you know, thoughts about this question.
Sure. So there are multiple things, right? So there is hardware related innovation that's coming up. Probably Nvidia is one big player there. There are many startups or many chip companies that are emerging there. So hardware innovation is going to be a key. Then there's the model innovation that's going on, like with likes of OpenAI, Gemini, Google, Anthropic, Claude, and all, right. So these are model building companies. There's another level of innovation that's coming up in serving these models. There are many companies like, again, upcoming companies, many startups that I see in model serving, just the inference part of it, using the building blocks of already available models. Then there's an application level innovation that's coming up, right? Given all these building blocks are there, what use cases do I handle with this kind of technology? So that's again in application level. There's like a huge explosion, I would say, in terms of usage of AI, and huge venture capital also being inflicted. But then these are certain user level, direct user level innovations. But if you look at technology level innovations, right, there are many unknown blocks even today in so much of advancement as well, right? So Shubham already touched upon responsible AI, right? Responsible AI is not just tackling bias; it's also how you use less resources. Like today, if you for one day, there's so much of power consumption to build this model, to train this model. which is using a lot of natural resources like water and electricity and all, right? So responsibility is the AI is also about how minimal resources are you using to train your model to infer your model. There is ethical AI. Ethical AI tackles about the biases that we talk about. Uh, so bias is inherent in every conversation that we have around us today. Cultural bias, gender bias, color bias, racism, everything is there. So how do we tackle that? So these are all again research questions. We did not stumble upon this until there's so much of user adoption, right? These models were mostly in research labs so far. Now they have come out and we see all these examples being taken. Then there's copyright infringement. The data which was copyrighted is being used to train these models. How do we arrest that or identify that even, right? Or identify and just tag it saying this is a copyrighted content. There are again ethical we spoke about, responsible we spoke, explainable AI. How do I know, given AI is taking a decision for me, how do I know on what basis, what are its rules to arrive at that decision? How do I explain that? Right? Today, AI is mostly a black box. So these are certain, what do I say, certain advancements in technology or research areas, still unsolved problems, and many such problems are popping up day by day. How do we reduce hallucinations? Right? And research, if you go to any active research lab, there are so many people working on such things, such nuances, spending hours together, putting their life into it. Uh, but these are so many unsolved problems, and there are many more that are going to come up. Even self-driving cars.
Absolutely.
The
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of data is really vast, and addressing every edge case
yeah.
is potentially impossible, I would say.
I think, I mean, in any revolutionary era, we keep evolving, right? Like as we keep doing things, there's something more to refine. So that's my observation. Amazing point, Shravanti. Well, I'm just going to take a minute for all the audience who's been so proactive in sharing questions already and raising hands. I just want to let you all know that please drop your questions in the Q&A. We're going to answer all your questions at the end. We have a Q&A session, so we're going to go one after the other to respond to all your queries. Unfortunately, we do not have the mic rights, so I'll not be able to give you the mic rights during the webinar. But please do feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A. We will definitely answer your questions at the end. All right, going back to our interesting conversation. Um, Shubham and Shanti, for what advice do you give to aspiring AI developers who are just getting started in this field?
You want to go first,
Uh,
Shravanti?
yeah. See, pretty much for everything that you want to do, there are APIs available today for even the advanced models, right? So if you're looking at what is your end target or objective, what are you trying to build? Is it a model? Is it a application on top of a model, right? So based on that, what you have to learn or how you have to get ready differs. So probably just to start with, to get a flavor of what it does, what is the potential, start playing with available APIs. You really don't have to get into model building in the first stage. Start looking at how things work, understand the applications, understand the corner cases, where it is working, where it is not working, right? So probably that gives you an what do you say, understanding of what you need to focus on while building your own model. So that way, I mean, your perspective changes or broadens, I would say. When you start using these applications, the perspective broadens. So there are a number of things that we probably may not think of in the first go. So when you start using these applications, you get a perspective how user is using it, and that, as Shubham rightly said, right, customer as the first interface or first perspective that you are trying to get. From there you start tracking it back. Okay, this is how customer uses this, or this is how customer needs it, uses it. How do I solve it? What are the building blocks needed? What are the available algorithms? What are the available models that are there? How do I break it down? What kind of data I need? I think Shubham rightly touched upon all of this in the very start. But I think that's pretty much the learning also goes in the same way, right? So you know what you have an end objective in your mind, and then you track back, then you start from the lowest point, start learning that, and start building upon that as you learn. So I mean, that's how I would approach my learning journey. So yeah.
Awesome, awesome. If I add
Amazing.
on that, I think the
Yes,
only
please.
advice I would give to people who are starting off, the very first thing I would tell them is start small. Start from bare minimum, bare basic. If you just want to start and you're trying to directly jump on building AI models, you might see yourself getting disappointed and demotivated because you might not be able to understand a lot of it. Right? Start very small. Just go to and start learning Python. Maybe it's a most human friendly programming language out there as compared to Java, C++, whatever. Okay, just learn how to write code. You can start by just printing hello world, or adding sum of two numbers. That's a small part. Look for small wins, right? Once you have spent 2 hours learning Python, try to solve few questions, and then once you are able to solve that question, that is something I call a small wins. You'll have to go through a lot of small wins to actually get a bigger win. And bigger win, what I mean by is creating an AI model and finally developing a product. So first advice would be start small. Second advice I would tell you is, and something purely from the personal experience, is lot of time when you try to achieve a goal, and it is not just specific to the AI part or ML part. Lot of time when you are trying to achieve a goal, even though you have the clear intent of or clear picture of what you want to achieve, you might have to do things which you're not interested in, right? Because not all days will be happy go easy. There will be days where you'll have to, where you really feel like things are not going your way, and you will start reconsidering your decision. For example, a biggest analogy and biggest common example I try to give to everyone who asks me about how to stay motivated is, for example, I'm the biggest or most eligible batsman, right? I'm the best batsman in the world, and that's the only thing I know. I don't know how to bowl. I don't know how to field. Just being a batsman is something all I know. Even though I'm the best batsman, I might not be able to make it to the top 11 team of my country, right? Because you need to have certain abilities apart from being a batsman as well. Even though you dislike being a bowler, or you totally dislike being a fielder, but you have to go through it in order to achieve something that you want to, right? So that is what, even if you want to be a AI developer, you will have to go through the routes of understanding a bit of statistics, mathematical equations, going through some data visualization tools. So those things comes along the way. You should not get demotivated by it. You should not just let it pass. You should focus on it, because you should be very much aware that why you are doing it. If the why is strong enough, you will get inner motivation. So that's the second advice I'll give to people, that do not get disrupted by demotivations, and not all days are happy go easy. And the third thing I would say is, always try to create products that can solve common problems. Like back in my college, in my second year, I remember I was learning website development because I was very curious to know how websites are developed. That and I come from a creative background as well, so I was very keen on creating creative websites and stuff. And I started working as a freelance web developer in a third year of my college. Free of cost, I was developing websites for people that was helping them, and the only satisfaction I was getting was by seeing people using the website, right? In my college fest, I created a website. There was a bus facility where every student used to be confused at what time the bus is going to be from city to the college and college to the city. So I created a website which can just tell you when is the next bus and give you the schedule, right? And it's still being used out there in the college, and I never charged for it. The only satisfaction I got was people using it. But because of me doing it, I understood end-to-end product development. I understood how to create products for users, how to enhance things further. So that's the three advice I'll give. The third advice being, create things which are smaller in size. Doesn't matter what small what size it is, but create something that can impact life. Yeah.
Of course, I think these points both of you shared are amazing, right? I think you guys change the world to be a better place. You're solving issues for everybody on a day-to-day basis. This is amazing. Well, thank you so much, both of you. Now we will just move towards the Q&A because we have a lot of questions out there. So I think one of the participants is asking a question based on an interview, right? Like, it looks like he's going for an interview. So he
Mhm.
says that you do not write code in Microsoft. in your work, then why the interviewers are so strict? How can we
Uh,
say that the interviewer have the knowledge to take the interview, and why can't we use ChatGPT in interview then? Well,
mm, mm.
very, very practical
Okay,
question.
very relevant question. Can I answer that, Rohini? Okay,
Yes,
awesome.
yes, of course,
So,
of course. Go ahead. Yeah.
awesome. So I'm not sure if the person who has asked the question is a fresher or a working professional, but I'll just assume that the person is both. So even in the interview, whatever we ask is more about DSA, data structures and algorithms. I'm not sure how many of you are aware about that, but DSA is something where we give you a hypothetical question. You have to come up with a logic, build it, and then get the test cases passed. Okay. Now, even though if I talk about pre-AI era, right? Even though if I talk about when AI was not even there and everybody in Microsoft were coding, we will still evaluating in the same way, asking students to write DSA questions and try to solve them using different data structures and algorithms. But I think people who have been a working professional might be able to relate to it. Once you are into the company, you never actually use those data structures which you have studied and on which you were evaluated. You never actually use, like, I'm not sure how many audience are there, but who are working professionals can just answer them in your mind. And how many of you in your company used sorting algorithms or searching algorithms which you study in college and in which interviews are scheduled, right? So the interview is totally different than what we do inside Microsoft, right? We are not trying to interview you to see how well you'll be able to solve things which we're doing in Microsoft. The interview is just to understand two things: your logic building abilities and your problem solving skills. Okay. Logic building abilities means how well you can come up with a logic. If I give you a mathematical equation or a problem or a situation, how well you can think in a simplest form and come up with a series of steps that can solve that issue. That is logic building abilities. Problem solving skill is if I tell you to write a slight piece of code that can, initiate a problem or make it simpler, or get the test cases passed, that's a problem solving skill. Okay. Now these two things can be best evaluated using data structures and algorithms, right? And we evaluate you using that DSA part. And once you are evaluated, once we see that you have logic building abilities and problem solving skills, we become confident that you can take up any kind of task at Microsoft, whether it is AI, non AI, machine learning, I mean mobile application development, anything. So what you do at Microsoft is completely different. Hence, even though we don't write code, we evaluate, and we will continue to evaluate your coding skills in the interviews. Yeah, because it is unrelated.
Amazing. You
Okay,
want to
to
add
add
few
to
points,
that,
Shravanti? Yeah.
yeah, to add to that, right? So today, and probably in future, near future to longer term as well, right? Probably AI is going to spit out the code, but
Hmm.
then what to ask AI to write? You have to tell AI to give me something, right? So in order to ask that also, you need to have that knowledge and to evaluate what AI is giving. Is it like Shubham said, right? AI gives the code, but you have to tweak it to your own use case. You
True.
have to tweak it to the problem that you're trying to solve. You have to customize it to your own code base, right? In order to do that, again, you have to learn programming. Unless you know what you're doing, what you're asking, and what AI is giving, is it right or wrong? You'll not be able to work on that. So
Absolutely.
programming knowledge is still
Yeah.
going to be relevant for some more time. Probably AI will rule. I mean, it will throw all of us out of jobs. Probably in a decade, but today it's not yet there. And in a decade also, I really doubt if it would be there. So
I don't
it
think
is
so.
going to
AI can
definitely
ever
going to be.
replace humans.
Yeah, it is going to be definitely a much more effective assistant, I would say. But the
Yeah, yeah.
ownership, accountability still lies with human. And
Right.
whoever is working with that AI has to take ownership of that decision of AI, which means they need to understand what AI is throwing at you, how to handle it, how to tweak it, how to refine it, how to debug it, right? Get to bottom
Yes.
of it. So all these skills are still going to be relevant. So problem solving, creative thinking, analytical skills, these are going to be again your foundation.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think in short, get your basics right before you move ahead.
Absolutely. First things first.
Well, yeah, great. So the next question is, how many fields are there in AI, and what are the difference between AI versus ML, and deep learning versus neural network and data science. So, yeah, it's fast.
Can I take that?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So there are, I mean, it is really vast. So AI in general terms is the vast field of science which tries to mimic human learning, mimic human decision making, right? Be it be vision, speech, text, whatever numbers, forecasting, whatever decision that we are taking, whatever perception that we are having as humans, the five senses that we talked about, right? So AI is trying to mimic that in a very broad sense. Machine learning is one part of AI, a set of algorithms, I would say, which try to achieve that, or algorithms to try to address the tasks, perception tasks, in a way, to some extent again, right? Neural networks is again one type of machine learning algorithm. Uh, is a subfield of machine learning, I would say, which is again a specific type of algorithm which mimics human brain, smallest part of human brain. And deep learning is a scale of neural networks, a huge scale of neural networks. Again, mimicking human brain. Human brain has probably a billions of neurons and trillions of connections within those neurons. And the scale that we are talking about is trying to be mimicked in deep learning, which is why it is called deep neural networks, deep learning, right? So this is broadly AI, ML, NN, and DL. But then, what are the fields within AI? There are again, it's vast ocean, I would say, right? There is computer vision, there is text processing, there is language, there is audio, speech, and there is numbers where you try to forecast the time series forecasting, recommender systems, robotics, autonomous self-driving cars, weather prediction. There are n number of applications, and even in healthcare, right? I work on brain research, trying to understand human brain, how human brain is affected in stroke, how is the recovery and all. So there are n number of applications in AI. Applied AI is one, and also even the core AI, developing new algorithms, new models, new approaches to learning. It is really vast. The research field is really vast, and even the application space is really vast. It's limitless, I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right, Shravanti. So the next question is very, very relevant. I think something we just spoke about. There's a participant who's asking, will AI replace developers in near future?
I think Shravanti already spoke about it. That it will not replace developers for sure, because we still need to have developers who can understand the response that we got from AI, and AI is still just giving us the code, but it is not creating the products end to end, like merging the front end, back end, taking care of the infrastructure, maintaining. So that part developers are needed, that is for sure, to understand the responses, evaluate them, tweak them, and create the whole connections. That is one. Second thing is, humans have emotions, humans have the creative angle, which is still missing in AI. Down the line, what happens, I'm not very sure. I think nobody can guess that as well, that down the line, after a decade, will two AIs will be able to fall in love with each other? I don't know if emotions will be there or not. I don't know. Okay, it may not happen, but currently emotions, creativity, things are not present in AI, right? So a lot of decisions which are human centric has to be still taken care by the developers or the people who are developing AI. So that's the second point. But having said that, the third point, that the expectations from developers have definitely gone up right now. Okay, now you cannot say that you are an SQL developer and you write SQL queries. That's something you cannot call yourself a developer then, because what's the difference between AI and you? I can say any, I can give the complete details of database to an AI and ask AI to write SQL queries. It will act like a SQL engineer for me. I don't need a SQL developer separately. Hence, the expectation from developer is something to go beyond what AI can actually do, right? I shouldn't be just be saying or calling myself a developer just because I can create HTML or CSS code or JavaScript code. I should have the end-to-end understanding of how connections are established, how cloud is working, how database gets connected. I should have the debugging skills. If there is something problematic happening in a product, how to find that problem. So AI is not going to replace people, but definitely the expectations from the developers are going to be significantly higher than before.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Shubham, don't you think upskilling would definitely help here? Like getting yourself
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
upskilled
I think
in
that's the
how
reason.
to
I think
use
that's
AI, That's where AI says come into picture for those who are very curious and take up the
exactly,
certification.
exactly. I
You
was
will
coming to
definitely
that as well.
upskill. Yeah,
Yeah, I was coming to that as well. Instead of finding, I mean, the roadmap that has been created by AI search, which I already gone through as well, might help to understand how exactly you can enhance your AI skills, how to use AI products, and the best part is
exactly.
how can you use AI to develop products that you're developing, right? So that
Yeah,
becomes a handy
yeah.
tool.
Well, the next question is quite lengthy, but it's somewhere linked to the current topic that we just spoke about. So, there is a participant who's asking about AI evolution and how it would impact in the next decade, and how much positive and negative impact which can create job, I mean, which can probably affect the job market against the human. So, I think it's just coming back to the same thing, right? Will AI replace human, and how is it going to be in the job market? So, since the fast moving world towards automation, every part except some aspects, how will it take away the technological advancement job from the human? How are we preparing ourselves to tackle this big challenge?
I think
AI
it
Yeah,
just
upskilling is
yeah,
going
it's the
to be
same.
necessary.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Shravanti.
AI upskilling is going to be necessary for developers and probably all kinds of roles, right? There are vast number of AI tools being created today, which will ease the job of any role, be it be a marketing person or a salesperson or a executive or a developer in any creative role that we are in. There are tools, AI tools, which are coming into market, very effective, very efficient. So definitely, it's not a question of am I going to be replaced by AI? I think many have already put it across. We should be thoughtful or cautious about we being replaced by a person who is using these tools effectively, who is aware of the updates in the market, what kind of tools are coming in, and what kind of tools can I use to make my job easier, right? So being aware of the market, emerging trends and all is going to be crucial. Upscaling is going to be crucial. I think a decade ago there was no full stack engineer. It was only back end or a front end engineer, right? You just know one programming language, you are good at it, you're hired. But today a full stack engineer or a front end or a back end engineer needs to know so many things. So that's a full stack role, and probably a couple of years later it's going to be a AI stack role, a
yeah.
front end AI developer or a AI enabled front end developer, AI enabled back end developer, right? Or AI enabled SQL developer. So AI is going to be one crucial skill, one more addition to your stack, your requirements, job description, where you need to know certain role specific tools, I would say.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason there's a very common
Yeah,
saying which says AI might not replace you, a person using AI might, right? So you need to
exactly.
make sure that you are upskilled and you understand AI to the in and out.
Yeah, yeah, very well explained, both of you. Thank you. The next question is pretty interesting. We are now talking more and more about AGI, artificial general intelligence. What are your thoughts on it, and how do you think it will impact the industry?
AGI is still very far away, I would say. We don't understand 10% of our human brain, even today, after lots of decades of research. With that being said, achieving AGI is a far-fetched dream, I would say. It really takes not just data, it needs a different approach to algorithm. OpenAI or LLMs that we see, they have come up on scale of data and on scale of training. Given that we are already run out of new data to train the models today, right? Up to 2021, LLM is trained, OpenAI ChatGPT is trained on. And from 21 to 24, there would have been a very small increment of data that would have been added newly. And imagine, even that is used for training. Imagine how much more data do you need to even further refine the current models. So just data alone is not going to solve the problem, and we have already run out of data for LLMs. And similarly, for any other application that you can think of, Either there is no data today, sufficient data to train your models on, or you have already used whatever data is available. So there are two problems. One is the data availability. The second is whatever current research or algorithm or methodology that we know to train these models on using this data is kind of incremental innovation but not a disruptive innovation. So we really need to understand how a human brain works in certain tasks to get a breakthrough in your technology or algorithm or model development. You need a different paradigm now. Just the scale is not sufficient, right? So that way, I would say AGI is a very far-fetched dream, in my opinion. It's not going to come in probably 1 decade.
Great, I think it's an amazing explanation. So, moving ahead to the next question, it says most of the job applications for the AI engineer are asking PhD or masters. Of course, there are companies that don't ask degree, but they ask experience. But the person should be lucky enough to work in that kind of project which gain experience. Here, GitHub projects one help to prove experience how to deal with such kind of scenarios to enter into this domain.
See, there are, while learning also you do certain hands-on projects, right? It's not that you learn just by looking at something. You do hands-on. So when you're doing hands-on on certain projects, try to see if you can develop more on whatever you have done. Put it on GitHub, project it, try a new POC with your own data, right? So there are a number of ways today with so much of social media visibility. There are a number of ways you can project yourself. So GitHub is definitely one, LinkedIn is one. You can write articles on towards data science or Medium or Kaggle, KD Nuggets. There are so many platforms today to showcase yourself. You can get into Kaggle competitions. There are so many competitions that keep
Yeah,
running on Kaggle. So you may not win probably, but you get that hands-on experience to work on these things and which can be put up as experience. So you have
I'm sure.
done so many
Yeah,
problems in Kaggle. You can put up everything. I mean, whatever code you write, you put on your GitHub profile, then repurpose on LinkedIn, repurpose on your other social media handles. Uh, I mean, attend conferences, events, be up to date on emerging trends of whatever you're trying to address or learn. I think these are some of the ways with social media. I think much more easier than it was a decade earlier when we were just coming into market.
of course. Yeah, I think
Absolutely.
knowledge is
I'll
so
just
much.
add to I'll just add
Please do,
one line
Shubham.
to it. First thing is, I think the first line was, it's necessary to have a master's or PhD to go for the AI ML roles. That is something. So I'll just tell you what we follow at Microsoft. At Microsoft, we have as an interviewer, we are always told that it doesn't matter where the student is coming from. It doesn't matter how the student has come or which degree the student holds from which college. All it matters is what the person is here today, right? That's a common saying that we have, that we don't care like what has been your background. You can be a civil engineer, you worked as a sales professional, but today you are a best AI developer we can have. That doesn't matter, we will definitely hire you on that part. So your degree doesn't matter, your skill set matters. That is one. Make sure that you have all things that Shravanti has mentioned, taking care of projects, building, and all that stuff. Second thing is, once you join the organization or once you apply for an organization, the amount of resumes usually are so high, people applying for the jobs, that you might not be able to get a call, right? Don't question back yourself that your resume is not up to the mark. For example, we recently had a job opening at Microsoft, almost 7,000 applications I got, only 500 were interviewed, rest were randomly just discarded. We didn't even see the resumes of other people. And it might have happened that out of those 500 there could have been someone else who would have been a better deserving person, right? So because of the mass is so high, at times, chances of resume getting shortlisted gets reduced. You can overcome that by reaching out to more companies and applying. Yeah,
Well, yeah, I think that's quite a issue in most of the companies today, right? Supply versus demand. Well, the
absolutely.
next question is in AI ML data science field, what are the new running industry trends in companies that a fresher can must be aware of?
think
Uh,
the
I think
LLM
I think the
applications are
question
picking
is
up.
more about the trends. Yeah, yeah, the current trends.
Yeah, LLM applications are more picking up. AI applications have been there for a while in the
hmm.
industry, but with ChatGPT's evolution, I think it's more of LLM applications that are actually gaining hype or gaining traction today. The other trends that I have already mentioned are responsible AI, explainable AI. Then there's Edge AI is also actually picking up. Edge AI is again AI on your devices, like Shubham mentioned, your wearables, your home devices. It could be handheld devices, right? So there are so many constraints on your devices. Your memory is small, your CPU power is small. So getting a AI model to work on the device or to infer on the device, right? It's pretty difficult today. Uh, so these are certain emerging trends and also research areas, I would say, uh, that are picking up. Security, how can you secure a AI model? How can you make sure there's no biased data being injected into your LLMs? Because LLMs are being trained with the data that we are kind of using it, right?
Yeah.
I probably ask and give a prompt to ChatGPT, and I get a response. That data is also used to train that OpenAI ChatGPT or some other model, whatever model using. So there are chances and there are ways to inject certain bad data into these models today. How do you secure your LLMs? So all these are active industry areas, problem areas, research areas. And hallucinations is one more area where active research is going on. How do you reduce the hallucinations?
Great. I think as a fresher, what I would suggest is LLMs. LLM is basically the backbone of ChatGPT. LLM model we call it as, which is applying the power to ChatGPT. You don't need to actually learn machine learning or learn AI tools to use LLM. That's the first thing I think as a fresher you can explore. Just go to openai.com. You can get the API key. If you know about API and slightly about development, you can very easily consume an API and create any AI product, right? Whatever you feel like, you can just tweak the model in a way and you can create the product. So that's the only thing I would suggest. Try to explore OpenAI, use the API of LLM and OpenAI, and you'll be able to develop things.
Okay, so the next question is also, I think, somebody from the, somebody who's looking out for a job. So he says, I have learned Python, Django, UI, SQL, a lot of other, tools. I am now searching for job for Python or Django developer. Again, I see so many requirements for machine learning along with Python and Django. So should I work as a Python developer for some years and then move to machine learning, or along with Python, I should learn machine learning? So how much time will it take to learn machine learning? What would be your suggestion?
I think first suggestion I would say is, if the person already knows Python and Django, that means the person is already understanding the development part. Django is used for the backend development. I would suggest the person to complement Python and Django with a front end tech stack, maybe HTML, CSS, or he might have mentioned, Rohini, you might not read it out, but yeah, if the person has already mentioned HTML, CSS, complement the backend skills with the front end skills. That way, the person will be able to be eligible for any full stack development roles. That is one thing I would suggest. Okay. Having said that, if you're going for full stack development roles, you will also have the requirement of going through some DSA, data structures and algorithms, coding specific stuffs. That is something should also go through. Parallelly, the person should be pursuing the ML and AI part. I would not recommend that, stop your job search and get into ML and then start the job search. Go for things which you already know. Find something that can, be a backup option for you, or at least a bread earning factor, and then parallelly go for ML and AI to upskill themselves. That will be my suggestion actually for that.
Yeah, I agree with Shubham, right?
That's
You
great.
already have certain skill set. Why don't you leverage that first before getting into something else?
Hmm.
AI ML can be learned parallelly while doing your job. Uh, so Python full stack developer is the first thing that I would suggest.
Yep.
Great. I think we have a participant who has created a project and would request you to, review and give your opinion. I will definitely share the details. But here is what she says. Could you please review my project NeoChat? It's a multilingual chat box developed by me and which is similar like chat box, which is similar like ChatGPT, designed to break language barriers with features like multilingual support, image generation, text-based chat, speech to text, and text to speech. I'd like to hear your feedback and suggestion for improvement. Project is live, and I'm going to share the link with both of you. Please take some
Awesome.
time and give your opinion.
Definitely.
Okay, great. I think the last question for today, why API are required and why more AI use OpenAI API key?
Why API is required was the first part of the question, Rohini.
I'll repeat, why
Mhm.
API are required. That's the
Mhm.
first part. And
Okay.
next is why more AI use OpenAI API key. That's the next part.
Okay, got it. So, why API is required is a quite a basic question, but I'll just talk about what is API, and that will answer the question of why API is required. Now, in the real life scenario, just assume API to be a postman, okay, or a delivery guy. If you, for example, you feel hungry and you want to order food, you can just go to Swiggy and order something. Okay, assume Swiggy to be a backend server which has all the data. In this case, all the food. Okay, and then you are a front end person, you are putting some data whatever you want to have and you are feeding into it, and then someone is coming and delivering it. So that delivery executive, assume it the person to be an API. Okay, in the technical terms, all the front end whatever you see on the screen, whether it is Instagram or whether it is Facebook or any application, is fed by API. API is nothing but taking data from the database, understanding the logic of backend and putting it in the front end. Okay, that is about API. Now API becomes a backbone for any product now. Whatever you do on your system, on your phone or any product, API is the one who's feeding all the data and controlling all the applications. Okay, so that itself answered the questions, what is API and why do we need it. To the second question, that why people are using OpenAI APIs, the reason is, back in the days when OpenAI was not there and you have to create a AI product, you used to need to have the training data set. You have to have all the data set by yourself. You have to find which algorithm or which model you have to build, train that model, test that model, understand how to enhance the accuracy, how you enhance the reliability and stuff like that. Everything had to be done from the ground scratch level by yourself if you have to create a AI product. With the onset of OpenAI, with the upcoming of ChatGPT and LLM, they have made the complete life easy. Now you don't have to do anything. You can use that API to leverage an existing model to create your own AI product. With OpenAI, within a day you can create your own AI product. That is the power. You can just have a basics front end, and in the back end you can just call API and get the details or get the answers from the OpenAI model. So that's the reason. Quick development, reliable, accurate. With minor cost, you can have a model up and running. That's the reason people are leveraging OpenAI. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shubham. I think you made it sound so simple, right? It definitely a very. So I'm so sorry. I have to take this question from the LinkedIn viewer. It's pretty interesting. So here you go. As AI, machine learning, and emerging innovations continue to evolve at a rapid pace, how do these technologies impact leaders in their decision-making processes? Specifically, how can leaders leverage AI to set strategic organizational goals, drive transformation, and navigate the changes uh, of a tech driven future? Let me know if you want me to repeat that. It's I
No,
can
I
break
think
it
I
down
think I
for you.
got the gist. I would let Shravanti answer that, being a CEO, so she has a leadership position.
Of course. Yeah, but I think Shravanti is facing some technical glitch out there. We cannot really see her.
I can see her.
Um,
Can you hear me?
oh, you do? Okay, fine.
Uh,
All right,
Yeah,
I
please.
think.
uh, yeah, I
Okay.
think it's an important phase for executives or people in decision making roles, right? There are businesses going out of business. Like Check is one good example. It's 15, probably $14 billion valuation in the market, public listed. It's 99% down today. It's totally out of business with ChatGPT. And people who are in decision making positions, right, executives, the CXOs, they have to be aware and they have to think strategically about AI. They cannot postpone it for future, or postpone it, like when the time comes, I'll handle it. It has to be a proactive, probably talking to their customers and understanding what they need, understanding how much their customers are ready to use if you build something, right? There are, like someone already raised, 99% companies in the last 1 year have used OpenAI APIs to build their applications, right? They have incorporated OpenAI APIs, LLM technologies, and all into their own products, existing products. But there are hardly, very few customers who have actually tried them or paid for them, right? So even though the technology is there, there's still, people are still wary of using that technology in actual, real use cases or in real, life situations. So that being said, I mean, because people are not using it, you cannot stop yourself from building it. You still need to talk to your customers, understand what they need. Probably not every use case that you thought of is really needed. There could be low hanging fruits which are not, very risky, very crucial, but still can help user experience, in being making their life easier, effective, efficient, time saving, and whatever it is, right? So that way, I mean, I don't think CXOs should wait until something comes or happens, or they see their own customer data going down or going up or whatever. They have to be proactive, reaching out to probably consultants or SMEs, subject matter experts in their own domain, or industry experts, to understand how they can incorporate in their own decision making within their own organization, and also to their customers, because even organizational efficiency is important. AI is definitely driving certain top line and bottom line, efficiencies. So I think it's behind us, that we'll wait and see. It's now, you act now, you think now, you strategize now.
Yep.
Perfect. I think it's a great response by you, Shravanti. For those who are curious to know whether this meeting is recorded and would you get a link, the answer is yes. Obviously, we do have your email addresses. You will be getting a link about the whole webinar, and please do feel free to, we will, I mean, if you both are okay, we could probably share your LinkedIn profiles with the
Sure.
registration, attendees, so they could reach out to you on LinkedIn. And yeah, I think we've come to the end of the session. It's almost an hour, and we've had such a wonderful interactive session today. So many people interested in the topic, and that's definitely a good sign, right? So I'll take a moment again to thank you, everyone who joined us, and today's panel discussion, and the special, and definitely a special thank you to Shubham Lal and Shravanti for their valuable insights on AI and ML development. We hope you're leaving today's session with new ideas and strategies to apply AI in your projects. Stay tuned for more webinars from AI CERTs, and have a wonderful day. And please do take a moment to look at AI CERT's website, which is already posted on the chat box. You would definitely very interesting AI certifications out there. Yeah, I think happy upskilling yourself, and thank you so much for your time. Thanks, Shubham, and thanks, Ravanti, for making it so interesting.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.